Need to unmute everyone. All right. Where's Kevin?
I was about to ask that.
I see myself in the
Boy.
video ninja thing.
There we go. Always something. Always something. Anyways, welcome to Between Two Beans. This is our 30th episode, a milestone for us. I swear they're getting worse. Hopefully they're supposed to get better. But maybe they'll get better again. We do have a guest today. Alan will be grilling you later. Kevin, do you got anything before we start?
No, just excited to be here for 30 episodes. We've been pretty consistent. Had a couple hiccups like you've seen, but we worked through them. But I'm excited to talk to Alan today. This one was exciting for me. Um, as some of you know, Will and I, we work in the same area, and he sent me a message today, and I'm at work just slogging along, and he's like, guest tonight, we're doing it. And I was like, oh, this is great. This is great. I'm like, what do I say? What do I do? Like, I need to come up with questions,
That's kind of funny because I said the same thing to Will earlier. I'm like, so do I need to prepare something? What do I need to do for this?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, just answer some questions. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Just do what Kevin does and ramble a lot, But
yeah, I usually leave Kevin rambling for a bit until we need to move on, and then I cut him off.
Then he just mutes me. But do you mind if I spill some beans, Will?
Sure. I mean,
okay.
It is spilling the beans right now.
That's true. That's true. So our first segment, if you've never seen the show, is where we spill the beans. So something huge news, right? And today, Space Marauders was launched.
What?
So it's officially live. So,
what? Really?
So
Why didn't I hear about this?
Congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely, Will. Congrats on this.
Yes, thank you. And it's kind of funny. I did tons of testing. I had Kevin also help me do some beta testing, and tons of testing, right? And it goes live, and then a bunch of stuff is broken. Like, I start my session fresh, and like the audio didn't start right away. My video didn't even play at all. It just started with everything muted. Yes, it was just Alexa talking, and I was like, oh gosh, this is just horrible. This is horrible. So I have voiceovers on my skill, and I was looking forward to these because I did some of them. I think all the others besides mine worked just fine. It was just mainly my initial voiceover, which made me mad. But then it kept on crashing when it's trying to I thought it was trying to fulfill a slot, but it wasn't that. It was just I just had some I was catching if what was it? Oh, if you're trying to do a bounty and that bounty is not there, then I am catching that and saying that one's not available, try something else, or try one of these. And then I say what the available bounties are. And that's what it's supposed to do. but it crashes every time on that.
Okay.
And I was trying to figure it out all morning. And then I figured out, so this is my first game that is Alexa hosted, right? And I was saving it and I was looking at the game, saving it, looking at the game. Nothing was working, right? But it was on my development Lambda, which I didn't know.
I gotcha.
So I figured out
So you're
that,
making all of these changes and not sending any of them live,
right,
and
to the
testing
live
against
skill.
the live version.
Yeah. And I was testing on the live version. Yeah. So, well, I finally saved it on the live version, but it didn't do anything. It's still breaking. So I have no idea what's going on there. And then
so real quick, Will. So some of the back and forth that you had with your certification,
hmm.
the responses that you've had, were they clear? Did they explain exactly what you needed to do? Because lately I've seen a lot of maybe some frustrations, I guess we'll say, with that certification process. So, for example, in the office hours that's put on Tuesdays, um, I've seen a lot of comments pop up that they wish they had a little bit more clarity in the feedback that they've been given.
Mm-hmm.
How did you experience that? What was your kind of perspective on that?
So it wasn't bad. I was able to fix every one of their problems. But
Okay.
I had to like investigate it. So no, it wasn't always clear what they were talking about.
Okay.
For instance, one of them was on a fresh start, when you never played the game before and you started the game. It was erroring out right away. And to
Okay.
me, it wasn't airing out because I didn't have a fresh start. I was using an already built character that had all the stuff, right? And I was like, why is this airing out? Why is this airing out? Finally, I figured it out. Yeah, I just had to delete my database and start over, and that
Right.
worked.
Right.
But it wasn't clear that that's what they were doing to
Hmm. Hmm.
find it. Another thing is what I really would love when they are giving this feedback is timestamps, and it doesn't have to be exact
Okay.
timestamp. It could be just like within, you know, 30 minutes or 20 minutes. 5 minutes would be awesome, but if I could figure it out within 30 minutes,
Right.
time
Right.
frame.
Just so you can go look at your own logs and say, well, okay, this is
Yes.
what they said. What does it look like on my end?
Right,
Exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
And for me, I am logging almost everything possible to figure out these errors. Because I've learned in the past, uh, uh, these errors, you can't really find them out unless you log them out, log certain stuff out. So I log a lot of great information to figure out these errors faster, I guess.
What are you using to do your login?
So I use the CloudWatch.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I mean, everything is this is Alexa hosted, so everything is, CloudWatch, Lambda, DynamoDB, S3, everything is within the Amazon thing.
The
Besides,
ecosystem.
I do have certain APIs, but I still am using Dynamo and Lambdas for them. So,
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, cool.
but yeah,
Cool.
I'm
Congrats
super
on that.
excited on this. Go out, play it. If you do find any bugs, please let me know. You can always find me on Twitter at WRONGHOLT. Also on Discord. I know I've talked to some people already from the Alexa Games Discord, and they just PM me, and it was great to figure out these problems they were having, and because it's so unique to almost to, not always to the individual, but there's so many different variables that could lead to that. So
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, congrats, Will. I'm excited to play it a little bit more, kind of get my feet into it and see what all it has to offer. I know I've
yeah.
been picking your brain and I pester you all the time. I'm like, any update? Did you hear anything? Like, hey, what's this? Like, how's that going? So then you turn your phone off and then I die a little inside. But
I don't think
I
that's
think
ever
we should
happened.
not yet. Not yet. It will.
Oh, okay.
Every time that I beg, I'm like, just put in a Kevin cheat code. Just put in a Kevin cheat code.
Mm.
And then suddenly you stop responding all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but
those won't ever happen.
I know, I know, guy can dream. I just have to make my own. But I'm excited to jump into our next session called Beaningful Conversation, and I
Still
would
don't have
love.
that banner.
That's all right. That's all right. If we were too professional, then we'd be all rich and it would go to our heads. So, but
That's
I would
true.
like to switch over to our Beaningful Conversation
Alrighty.
and really get Alan's perspective on some things. Um, if you had any questions, go ahead, Will, and then I'll kind of pick up a little bit.
I actually was not planned at all. Besides, I
Okay.
mean, I have some stuff pulled up already.
Sure.
I guess. I,
I could introduce
Well,
myself.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
that'd
say, yeah,
probably
if
be
you
a
don't
good
mind just kind
start.
of introducing yourself, who you are, where you live, what
Yeah.
you're doing, your birth date, your social, all that stuff.
Yeah, all those details that
Yeah, minor
that you'll
details.
conveniently edit out of the
Absolutely.
So I'm Alan Furstenberg. For those of you who don't know me, I am a Google developer expert for the assistant, which means that cancel. Oh boy,
Yep.
doesn't
Mute
usually
him.
pick up on that one. Um, I'm a Google developer expert for the assistant, which means that I don't work for Google, but I work closely with them.
Okay.
It is roughly the same thing as an Alexa champion, very,
Okay.
very roughly. The biggest difference is there are GDEs for a lot of Google's technologies, and Assistant is just one category in it. My day job is I'm also a software developer in my day job, although I do consulting services. So a lot of design, build, run, update, maintain, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I do have a few clients that I do voice stuff for, but most of my stuff is not voice related professionally. My day job stuff, the stuff I actually get paid for. So as I guess part of as being a GD and part of being in the voice community, I'm involved in a lot of other different pieces.
Okay.
So I am the one of the moderators for the Voice Lunch North America.
Oh.
Which is every Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Figure it out in other time zones. And that's an hour where we'll either have a guest join us, or we're the guests ourselves. We've got a bunch of people who are very interested in this topic, and all sorts of questions and issues come up.
Absolutely.
And then I also co-host a podcast that I do with Mark Tucker every week called
Yep.
Two Voice Devs.
Yep.
And that usually comes out on Thursdays. Take a look for it. We've got a YouTube channel and a podcast and a website and some other stuff coming soon.
Yeah. And you recently hit a milestone in your episode numbers, didn't you?
Yes, we recently hit 100. I think we are currently at either 111 or 112 is coming out this Thursday.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah,
And
congrats on them.
And
Yeah,
well,
that's
congrats to you
crazy.
guys too. I mean, I got to tell you, when you said you hit a milestone of 30, I still remember when Mark and I hit episode 10, we said, hey, 10 is a big milestone. So we want to do a special topic for this one. and I think it was like top 10 features that we wanted or something like that.
Nice.
But it's 30 is a nice round number, and it's past the point where they say, if you've hit that many, you've got legs. You can keep going.
Yeah.
That's what I said about my marriage too. Like I hit that 6, 7 year mark. I got to figure out which number it is, and then we're good to go now. We can just keep rolling with it. So
I was gonna say, I didn't think you were married 30 years.
not yet, not yet. We're getting there. Some days it feels like it. But anyway, well, that's interesting.
Or like turning 30. It just gets better from there on, right?
That's the plan. That's the plan.
Maybe not.
So Alan, how exactly did you get started in voice? Like what made you say, "Oh, this is a neat technology," or how were you exposed to it?
That's actually really fascinating because,
Okay.
and I forgot to put on my Google Glass, which is the answer to that question.
Uh-huh.
So
Neat.
about for folks that don't remember, 10 years ago at Google I/O 2012,
Okay.
Google launched this product they called Google Glass, and literally launched it. They jumped out of a hot air balloon with it and brought it to the stage on the Moscone Center. If you've never seen the video, and the promise of Glass was this notion of it was instead of being buried behind something, it was a piece of hardware that was there with you all the time. It was there when you needed it and out of the way when you don't.
Right.
We were calling it, ambient or ubiquitous computing back then. And the moment I saw that, I'm like, that's what I want computers to be. I want computers to be, I want to do something anywhere in whatever makes the most sense at that time. If I am sending a text message, I should be able to do it from my phone, from my computer, from something else.
Right.
Whatever it is, but I should be able to do it anywhere. If I get a message coming in, I should be able to quickly see, do I care about this? Do I care about this enough that I respond quickly? If I'm driving, do I pull over in my car and type out a longer, and a heads-up display like Glass did that without getting in my way, without interfering with my life.
Yep.
Nice.
And one of the things that I think few people appreciate about Glass was that it was voice controlled.
Yes.
The entire way you did things with Glass was by saying, "Okay, Glass," and then saying something. And that's why we now have "Okay, Google" and "Hey Google" and all of those.
Right.
That's
Okay,
awesome.
Glass was the first attempt at that.
Exactly.
I don't know if you heard that. The one in the other room decided to speak up now.
Nice.
So that's what got me started. And Glass faded out and died out and moved into wearables and watches, and then kind of faded out again. And my contact at Google for Glass eventually moved into wearables, and then eventually he moved into the Assistant. And I just kind of followed him along.
Makes sense.
It seemed interesting.
Yep.
And when Google launched the Google Assistant and the Google Home at I/O, I think it was 2017, because this has been 5 years of
5 years. Okay.
It's been 5 years of the Assistant. I immediately saw that this was the successor to Glass that I had been looking for. This was, the device. This was the tool that we could put this on a watch. We could put this on our phone. We could put this on a speaker. We can put this on our TV. We can put this in our car. We put this everywhere.
Right.
And that got the ambient and ubiquitous features that I had been looking for. So that's been my path into voice.
Interesting. It's always fun to hear everybody's experience and what really brought them into this voice world.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like, I'm gonna blow Will's mind right now. I was not a child prodigy when it comes to coding. I was not exposed. I grew up in the middle of nowhere. So I wasn't exposed to this kind of technology and stuff until much later. Like I didn't have programming classes in high school or anything like that. I had wood shop and metal shop, and that was high tech for me. And so once I got out of the medical field, because that's kind of what got me interested in technology, and then to see the accessibility front of voice really drew me in, and that's kind of
Yeah.
how I got in there. So when you're saying you have this ambient technology, ambient computing everywhere, that was what I wanted to get into. I could help the persons with Parkinson's who couldn't necessarily text out a message, but could say the message.
Yes.
Verbal responses, those types of things. Um, that
Well,
really got me
one
interested.
of the things that was really, really amazing with glass was working with people who were doing autistic research,
Yes.
and how can this device just provide that additional context
Hmm.
that they had problems with.
Right.
And it was fascinating the work that they were doing with kids to help them. Mm.
Hmm. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I've gotten my hands on a few of those studies, um, participated in a few of them from
Mm.
an external point of view, not personally, but um, yeah, it was amazing just to see improvements or tweaks that could be done to different routines and behaviors and things. It was really, really good stuff there, and it's exciting to see where it's going to go in the future too.
Yes.
So, in that regard, where we focus on voice, and that's what kind of got you into it. But with your perspective on glass, what do you feel about the visual component with voice? I guess what I mean is, are you okay with blending the two, a
Oh,
visual aspect
absolutely.
and a.
Oh,
Mhm.
absolutely. I mean, because glass, everyone when they think of glass thinks, oh, it's this augmented reality thing,
And it's got a
and,
camera on it, and you're
and it
you're
has a camera on it,
videotaping
which
me
is
all the time.
um, and I'm like, I never really saw it as augmented reality. I saw it as kind of supplementing reality, but it never replaced things. But
Right.
one of the
Yeah.
things that I really liked, for example, is how it very smoothly blended the visual component of it and the audio component of it and the touch controls of it.
Hmm.
Okay.
All of them work very seamlessly together. So, for example, when you got a text message in, all you would do is hear a chirp indicating you got a text message.
Okay.
Okay. If I wanted to know who it was from, I'd have to look at it. And just the fact that I moved my eyes
Hmm.
would let Glass know that I wanted to look at the screen. And it would show on the screen who it was from, just a picture of who it was from, in the first line or first few words of the
Right.
message. Not a lot, but enough that in a moment I could see, do I care about this enough to reply? How do I want to handle this? And
Hmm.
if I did, I could touch something to indicate that I wanted to reply, or just say reply, or just say delete, or just say nothing and it goes away in a
Okay.
moment.
Right.
So I very much think that the we need to the multimodal experiences are good experiences.
Hmm.
Hmm.
The problem is, and the problem that I feel we have right now, is that a lot of our visual experiences with voice first are meant to be visual experiences, not multimodal experiences.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think it's understandable
Mhm.
why we do that, because we've been spending, you know, decades on improving visual interfaces.
Hmm.
Yes.
Hmm.
And we haven't gotten used to this notion of we can do better.
Mhm. It's
Um, well,
almost excuse me. It's
no, no, no,
almost
go
an
ahead.
entire a new way of thinking, a different way of interacting with that computer system. I mean, and when we went from or to a GUI system, and then, for the mid 2000s, there was a stylus and on all your PDAs and your palms and everything.
Hmm. Hmm.
That was a new way of interacting with a device. I think we're just hitting that next step with voice. It's just another way of thinking and another way of coming up with ways to improve that experience.
Definitely agree. And again, I'm my concern.
Mhm.
To give you an idea, when we moved from command line to GUI, some of the earliest GUIs just took the command line parameters
Mm-hmm.
and stuck them on a screen,
Yep.
and it was terrible. And I feel like that's the trap that we're currently stuck in when it comes to multimodal experiences,
Mhm.
is that we've either taken the visual and stuck, and replaced it with audio, and it's terrible, or we now have this mixed visual audio thing, which is
Right,
terrible.
right. This I like that thing, that
Right.
that blob that you're trying to jam together. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're still working our way through it, I think. I think the future will be multimodal, but I don't think it will be the multimodal that we have now. I wouldn't want it to be. I want to be able um to do the same things on whatever, again, goes back to do the same things on whatever device I'm on.
Right.
If I am in my car and I ask it to do something, I don't want it to pop something up on the display unless there's a really, really good reason to pop it up on the display.
Mhm.
I want to make sure that voice can be the primary way of doing things. And I think
Yeah.
we're going to have an example of this later with one of the one of my actions that I talked to Will about demonstrating.
Okay.
We'll get to that.
Perfect. Perfect. Did you have anything you wanted to jump in with, Will?
Just since we've been talking about these glasses, have you either of you seen a Microsoft HoloLens?
I have
Yeah.
I have a picture of me wearing a HoloLens somewhere.
Okay.
I played with it once a number of years back.
They now have a HoloLens 2. Pretty cool. But now what's I just saw the other day, Lenovo released their own glasses, and that
Yep.
was more of like just another screen for you. So you can do stuff in private with just wearing your glasses, but it's hooked up to your computer or your phone, and then you can also do stuff on that screen. So it's interesting.
I think it's interesting, and I think it's good from a privacy perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I'm disappointed with it though in a lot of ways. Well, I don't know. I think part of it is that I really, really bought into the there when you need it, out of the way when you don't perspective on this hardware.
Yeah.
I want to get out into the world.
Yeah.
I want to be able to do stuff and to have my technology with me where it makes the most sense.
Yes.
And that Lenovo glasses, they're cool and they're useful, but they're literally saying, sit on your couch and we will have a screen right there for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's nice, but it's not what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I'm curious. What more of what I want is what Google has teased with its new "Don't Call Them Glass" project. That they hinted. They showed a demo at I/O of it doing translation.
Right.
Live transcription for you, or live transcription translation for you, which is an interesting application.
Mhm.
And then of course to see what in the world Apple does,
Mm-hmm.
because they're always the wild card.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right. And it's interesting too to see how Google has these technologies that exist and they have, the backing of Google behind them. But it always seems to take a little bit well, I know, backing was the wrong word to use on that. Yeah, I can see that. um, and it always seems like Apple is the one that everybody pays more attention to, that if Apple does it, then it's like the gold standard. But if you would like to elaborate on that point that I just said, that's perfectly fine. Where I said the
To be clear, I don't work for Google.
right.
I think Yeah, the problem is Google, I'm not sure, has ever really been seen as having the cool leading edge technology. They've always been seen to lag Apple. So when Apple doesn't do it first,
Yeah.
people discount it.
Yep.
Mm,
And I think that's a mistake.
yeah,
I would agree. I would agree.
I'll take
If you
a
remember,
Google before Apple any day.
if you remember
I
Cortana too, um, not to go into the weeds, but I really thought Cortana was going to pick up speed or gain a lot of traction, just because they had the Halo perspective behind them.
Mm.
They also had the integration with all the Office products, so you could
mhm.
compose an email and all that stuff, or uh, tie into your desktop system with your Windows side of it.
Well,
But,
I think the reason why that didn't work so well
mm,
is that nobody wants to sit at their desktop and talk to their computer.
exactly,
It
exactly.
really was, it required the smart speakers
Mhm.
to get people to kind of start wrapping their heads around this is something different.
Yep.
Mhm.
And if Microsoft had launched a Cortana speaker right when Alexa did,
Yes.
they'd be there. But
I
they didn't.
agree. I agree. Yeah, they waited. Um, they they really didn't push anything until what was it, almost 8 months afterwards before they kind of caught up. But
Mm.
which kind of brings me to that next point a little bit. If any of our viewers have seen our recent streams, I made a big deal out of Alexa being put on your smartwatch. So they were starting to push that mobility phase, because even before that news came out, I had said a few times that I kind of like this Google Assistant thing because I can have it here and
Mhm.
I can go out and I don't need my phone, I don't need my computer, I don't need my device sitting on my desk. I can use it wherever I want, you know. Hey, what's the weather? And I can do that whether I was in my car or I could do that on a run that I don't do often enough. But um,
A
the ability was
hypothetical run,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Hypothetically, for those that would use that feature, it's available for them.
Well, and I think that's it, is the ambient nature of this technology is crucial. And I think that's the big difference between the ambient nature of something and the ubiquitous nature of something. Right now,
Right.
Google Assistant is ubiquitous, or Siri is ubiquitous. It's on your phone. Okay. It's somewhere, and everyone's carrying around their phone. Whereas Alexa has understood that it can't just be ubiquitous, it has to be ambient. It
Yep.
has to be everywhere and easy to get to.
Mhm.
Mm, yeah.
Yep. Makes complete sense.
Mhm.
Makes complete sense. So, where do your kind of interests or passions lie? Have you created any games, or do you focus more on um, informational use cases, or where do you like to put your interest for that?
Everywhere. No,
Everywhere.
it's
Perfect.
seriously everywhere.
Mhm.
I mean, to be honest, most of my interests these days are actually in helping others do stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
Is really getting stuff out there. And part of the reason is I have a lot of ideas. I have a huge number of ideas. I do not have the time to do a fraction of them.
So
Um,
Yes.
true.
Yeah.
and in order for this this corner of the industry to help people understand all of the awesome stuff that we can do,
Right.
we need people to do it.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
there was stuff that I did early on. There is some stuff that I still do, but I have written games,
Mhm.
I've written entertainment. Um, for Two Voice Devs, I wrote an updated advanced media player
Okay.
for the podcast. So one of the things you could do is, yes, you could just play the most recent podcast, or you could say, hey, when did they talk about APL? And
Fantastic.
it would tell you
Fantastic.
the best episode where they talk about APL is episode whatever. and take you right to where we started talking about APL.
That's awesome.
And if you said, go to the next segment, it would take you to the next place we talked about APL. And if you said, go to the next episode, it would take you to the next, episode where we talked about it the most, right where we talked about it. So, it's not just playing one episode after another. It's not a podcast player. There are plenty of good podcast players.
Mm-hmm.
It was being able to tap into the data that we had about the segment itself,
Right.
the transcript, and get you to the relevant information in the transcript. That's something I love doing. I'm also really big, just in general, I'm really big about empowering people to create content. One of the very first website I wrote was something called Adventure with 2 Ds. ADDVENTURE. Go look it up in Wikipedia. And the notion of it is that it's I don't know if you remember those choose your own adventure books.
Absolutely.
Where, you'd read something and you get to the bottom of the page and it said, if you head down the path, turn to page 27. And if you jump off the cliff, turn to page 99. Mm-hmm. Those sorts of things, right? It was one of those, where you had a title and a description and 2 to 5 choices at the bottom, and you clicked on a choice and it took you to something else, and it kept going like that. And at some point, it would get to a point where it said, this page is blank. Write the page and write the descriptions.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which is why it's an adventure.
I like it.
Nice.
So I tried to create something like that as one of my first actions.
Okay.
Based on an old, actually, since they talk about it all the time, you've probably played Akinator.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. It was like Akinator, except with two differences. The first is that it was supposed to just be about animals.
Yeah.
You were it was guessing an animal. And the second is, if the computer failed, if it couldn't guess it, it asked, well, okay, what animal were you thinking about? And what question could I ask that would tell me, that would differentiate what I thought the answer was versus what you think the answer is?
Right.
And in this way, it builds up this tree of possible answers.
Yep, makes sense.
And that ran for a couple of weeks until I got a notice from the Google review team saying there are inappropriate answers.
Whoops.
There's inappropriate content on your action. And I went and reviewed it, and yeah, there was inappropriate content on my action. So I cleared it and started over. And within another day, it was, somebody else had put it back. And I said, I don't have the moderation time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have the time right now to put in the moderation facilities.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But it's stuff like that always interests me. It's, we have a lot of skills and actions that will give you data, that will give you answers, that will take your questions and give you answers. We have very few that do the exact opposite. Mm-hmm. Let you put data into a system. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a perfect segue into actually demonstrating one of these.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Will, do you mind firing it up?
So what do I do?
Just open up the spreadsheet.
Okay.
I will explain. So what Will is hopefully doing right now. Okay, I can actually see it there. So this is a plain old Google Sheet spreadsheet. There is nothing whatsoever special about this spreadsheet. I wrote it's an action called Voodoo Drive. You can get to it from voodoodrive.com. That brings that up too. Thank you. And what it does is it lets you, broadly speaking, work with files in Google Drive. And very specifically, it's well tuned to work with spreadsheets. And one of the nice things about spreadsheets, there are a bunch of nice things about it. For starters, is most people know what you mean when you talk about a spreadsheet.
Right.
It's a familiar paradigm. People are comfortable with it. People write stuff in it all the time. Mm-hmm. Excel is one of the most popular programming languages in the world.
Yep.
The second is that spreadsheets have a built-in structure to them, and it's a built-in structure that you assign. They're organized in terms of rows. Most people put a column on top with a column header, and that column header identifies the contents.
Yep.
They have format, they have formatting, they have all sorts of stuff. And based on that, there are things that we can do with voice, not just to query this data. I could ask, one thing that most people would think to ask, and in fact, there are a lot of skills and actions and capsules that do this sort of thing that let you say, what was the weight on January 26th? What's more complicated is adding data into it. So I'm going to demonstrate something.
Perfect.
And I'm going to do the whole demonstration and then explain what I just did, because trying to explain while it is active is a little tricky.
Yeah.
So I want to emphasize one thing, however. What I am doing is talking to my system, my assistant. Will has opened up the spreadsheet, and what you're seeing is just the basic nature of Google Sheets, that two people can edit a spreadsheet at the same time. There is no magic that I am doing whatsoever. And in fact, the spreadsheet itself does not need to be open for these changes to be happening.
Okay.
It's only there so you see what's happening live.
Gotcha.
Let me take a drink first. Hey, Google, ask Voodoo Drive to open demo.
I've opened the spreadsheet named demo. What would you like to do next?
Add a row.
Okay, I've added a new row. What would you like to do?
Prompt me.
Sure. What would you like to set weight to?
185.
Got it. I've set weight to 185. That's all the values to set. What would you like to do now?
What's the difference?
The value of difference is down 4. What would you like to do?
Change weight.
What would you like to set weight to?
186.
Got it. I've set weight to 186. What would you like to do next?
Change it to 187.
Okay, I've set weight to 187. What would you like to do now?
Quit.
Thank you for using Voodoo Drive.
Okay, so bunches of things there, and actually I forgot to demonstrate a couple of things, and your mind looks blown there.
That was amazing. You've broken me at this point. That was cool. That was cool.
It was really important to me that we be able to manipulate a spreadsheet, but we don't manipulate it using spreadsheet terms. So I didn't say things like set B18 to 185.
Yeah.
Yeah. So by default, it works on the last line. When I had started, if I had asked it what weight was, it would have told me 189. If I had asked it the date, it would have given me that date. By default, it works on the last line or the line that it just adds. When it adds a new line, it copies some things from the previous line, like formatting and formulas. So, if you can see some of these are just formulas, but it copied the formula. Other things are not formulas, they're just values. But it knows that if it's a date, most of the time a date in the first column should be the current date and time. So it goes and puts in the current date and time. That's not something I had to do on the spreadsheet. It just knows that's how usually we use these things, so it did. When I asked it to guide me, it knows that it only needs to prompt me for the things that are not formulas,
Mhm.
because it'll calculate the formula. The sheet calculates the formulas.
Right.
It knows that when I said change it to 187, well, that was the last thing that I did. So it knows to use the same cell again.
Yeah.
So it's a bunch of things like this. And this is what I mean when I say I want to be able to do voice input and a flexible, use the output in a different way. What would the output for this look like? What if I was showing a chart and I said, well, that's interesting. Show me a week's worth. Make it 2 weeks.
Yeah.
What if we did it as a 3-day average? And, this is not something Voodoo Drive can currently do, but this is, one of the visions I have. This is where I'd like to see our mixed media, our multimodal operations heading in that kind of a direction.
Yeah.
Nice.
That is fantastic. When you said the sheet doesn't even have to be open, I'm thinking, boy, that's going to get confusing. Nope.
No,
Nope.
it doesn't.
Clear as day.
Yeah.
And then, like you just said, naturally. You don't have to know any special terminology. You don't have to play with any terms. You just talk. Just
Right.
You could ramble if you wanted.
Right. And kind of the idea of this is things like, if you're the sort of person that likes recording how much gas you get at a gas station, as you're pulling, as you're finishing up fueling up, or as you're pulling out, driving off or whatever,
Yep.
you just start entering the information, and then later you go look at what that means.
Right. Hypothetically, someone could track the miles that they run if that was something that they did.
For some games that I would do, I would, whenever I finish playing Pokemon Go, I'd walk in and record what my score is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then a few minutes later, go in and look and see, well, how did I do today compared to yesterday?
Right.
Nice.
That's pretty neat. Just these little everyday use cases.
It's that notion of being again, it goes back to the ambient computing nature of it. That I could be doing these sorts of things while I'm doing something else.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And in the moment that I want to record it without having to interrupt me, to open my phone, open a spreadsheet, open the right file, go down to the right row, enter in the data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I could talk about this stuff for hours. But was there anything else you wanted to bring up from your perspective, or Will, did you have anything that you wanted to?
Nope. I didn't.
Okay. Well, I have a couple questions left. These will be just spitfire things. One, does
Well,
that
okay, let me just point out, spitfire things. Do you really think? I mean, I've watched your show. You've watched mine. Do you really think we can really spitfire them? Honestly?
Not at all.
As long as we're clear on that.
So, first thing, does the phone work on the wall?
No.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
I wish it did.
Yeah.
It was my goal at one point to install in it. Google did used to have kits that you could build the assistant into, and it was my goal at one point to wire it into one of those. So if you picked up the receiver, you would be talking to the Google Assistant. I also have an even older phone, the kind that has the horn sticking out of the wall, and you lift it up on the side. Yep. My goal was also to incorporate the assistant in one of those, and I never got around to it either.
That's cool. I'm glad I asked that question.
Yeah.
So when you're not developing, when you're not sitting in front of the computer, like, I know those are probably rare times. Any other hobbies or interests that you get into?
That's actually a really good question. And it worries me sometimes that I say that this is my hobby. It is a big part of my hobby is all of this voice work, and I enjoy it. I do like photography. I do like taking walks. There's other assorted stuff, but and there's times that I spend with my family, which are fantastic.
Absolutely.
But a lot of my hobby work really is around voice.
Nice. You said photography. What kind of camera do you have, or what kind of cameras do you have?
Once again, it is sitting on the desk on the other side of the room. It is a 15-year-old Nikon DSLR
Wow.
is the one that I currently use.
Cool.
That works.
Yeah.
I need to be better about my photography. I took one of those Udemy courses things, rule of three or something like
Yeah.
that. Need to figure all that out again.
And,
But
and I should also point out, yes, I also do use my phone as a camera, and I also still use glass as a camera.
okay.
Nice.
Because
Okay.
because once again, I can just take the picture and then actually enjoy what I am looking at rather than saying, "Oh, perfect shot." Pull it out, take off the lens cap, focus, zoom, adjust the shutter.
Yep. Yep.
With glass it is, and I'm done.
Nice.
And no, it's not the greatest picture, which is why I still carry around my DSLR when I'm trying to take nice photographs. But I don't have to worry about taking photographs.
Mhm.
Right. So I guess my last kind of question, I'm never done, but my last question for now would be, if somebody's watching this in the future and they're like, wow, this is pretty cool. Kevin rambles a lot, but this is cool stuff. How would you suggest they get into this world? What would be their first step? Or it's not an easy question, I know.
It's not an easy question. And part of the reason why it's not an easy question is that everyone's path through this, as we kind of talked about earlier, is different.
Mhm.
I think the biggest thing that I would emphasize, though, when talking about getting into voice is, if you're already in technology, if you've already got some element that you like and you're used to, leverage that with voice. Because there's
Sure.
tons that we can leverage from our existing backgrounds already.
Mhm.
And take what you know and build on it.
Yep.
If you're newly coming into this and you're the sort of person who, if you had been excited about mobile, would have dived into mobile development as the first kind of development, or dived into web development because that was your, if voice is your first, it's hard for me to tell because that hasn't been my experience.
Right.
But the things that I would say is, there are a wealth. We've got a huge community out here.
Very true.
There's people on Twitter. There are people on LinkedIn. We have people at Voice Lunch. We have lots of conferences, and everybody that I have worked with in voice are fantastic and friendly and helpful. So my best suggestion is, dive in with the materials you can find. When you have problems, and you'll have problems,
Yeah.
because we've all had problems, and that's important to understand. We have all had problems, so it's okay if you have problems. Turn to the community. Post your question on Stack Overflow. Post your question on Slack. Ask people in Twitter. Go to the places in the community where we are and ask for help. And you will have a pile of people who will come to help you.
Yeah.
Because two things. One is, we are that kind of a community. We really are a community that wants to help folks who are just coming in, because it wasn't too long ago that we were there. We remember.
Right.
And also, we're the kind of community that needs you, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
We need more people in it. We need more diverse people in it.
Mm-hmm.
We need a lot of other perspectives. And if you're not sure, if you think this looks cool but you're not sure if it's right for you, it's right for you. We need your perspective, and we need it desperately. And if nobody else has an answer to your question, you can find me on Twitter.
Perfect.
And I have
Awesome.
office hours every Wednesday, 3 office hours a day. Come find me there and
Perfect.
ask your question.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. I really appreciate that answer, for sure.
Sure. Yeah.
So, did you have
Awesome.
any? I know we're gonna wrap up
We
shortly,
are
but
long as usual, I'm sure.
but did you have any resources that you wanted to make mention of? Any blog posts that come up, or any website things, or
It's hard for me to say. Aside from plugging two voice devs,
Yep.
we talk about developer subjects every week. And again, stuff that I find them come up on Twitter, and I try to repost it when I see good stuff. Voice Lunch at voicelunch.com. There's lots of, and again, find me on Twitter at A Furstenberg.
Perfect.
Is it Voice Lunch? No hyphens or anything like that?
No hyphens, voicelunch.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. I think we're going to jump into, we kind of wind down, and sometimes we'll pick a bean of the week. And this is just an item that we've used recently or we've purchased and that we enjoy. It doesn't have to be tech related. Most of the time it's not. But Will, did you have a pick this week?
I did. I just realized it was on Bean of the Week the whole time. I was slacking horribly. Wow. Okay. Mine actually is I meant to copy that. Dang it. Mine is Ditto. This is a company I use to get my soundtrack out there to any streaming software. If you guys didn't know, I created a soundtrack for Space Marauders, and you can find it on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, Tidal, and much, much more. And by just saying Space Marauders, that's one way to find it. Also, you can just look up my name because I'm technically the artist. My name is William, and then Rungholt, Ronghult. But anyways, that's my little tidbit. Ditto,
Nice.
if you are a music creator and you want to share it, it's super cheap. I think it's like 19-20 bucks for the year.
Oh, wow.
For unlimited music, and you can get it everywhere. So it's like the best app, or not app. I don't know what to call it. Company to do something for so cheap, and at least out of your pocket. I'm guessing they take a little bit out of the the royalties and stuff like that, but
Sure.
it's a good price, and so far a great company.
Cool. Well, that's pretty timely with Space Marauders dropping and everything too. So
Yeah, you
nice.
like that little push.
It's a good plug there. Very good.
Yeah. Nice. So speaking of being cheap, right? That was my segue. Um, my bean of the week is actually a pair of earbuds. I actually went with the Samsung Galaxy Buds. They're a couple generations older, but I've always been cheap, and I'll pick up uh, the cheapo ones. If I'm just walking around the house, I'm not running, but if I'm walking around the house and I have some earbuds in or anything, I've always picked up the cheap kind of off-brand ones.
Mhm.
But this time around, the battery wasn't really lasting that long. I was getting about an hour and a half on each charge, so it was about time. So I decided I would try out these Galaxy Buds.
Mhm.
I know they just came out with some newer ones,
Mhm.
but I didn't. I think they were like $249, and I
Oh,
said
okay.
I'm cheap, so I decided to test these ones out. But I really wanted these because they have like they work really well with my phone. I'm running a Galaxy Ultra 22 or whatever it is, and I really wanted something that was going to pair well, that had good reviews, and I could start using the assistant more with, to get out and about, maybe even start running. I need to let that joke go, but start running,
I think that
and
joke has run its course.
Yeah.
I believe it has. It has reached the finish line.
Mhm.
So I'm excited to get these and actually utilize them more. They're charging. They sit here. They work. They have that ear detection thing. I can put them in and take them out, and music stops or whatever.
Nice.
But excuse me. I really want to be able to utilize the assistant more often. Just being around the house, I know I have some Alexa devices and I have a home as well, but I want to get out in the yard and figure out what the weather is or something, you know. So
You just
I'm
look
excited
outside.
to. Yeah, that's true too. Sometimes I complicate things, but I like these. The sound was good, and I'm glad that I made the purchase, even if they are a few generations older. It kind of might put me in that. Maybe I'll upgrade at some point. So,
Is this they're on version 3 right now?
the new Galaxy Bud Pro somethings pluses came out, and once they did, these dropped in price, and I was like, you
Okay.
know what? I don't need the latest and greatest. My
No,
Ferrari
yeah.
sits in the
Mhm.
garage and it just gathers dust, and I was just like, I'll just get the old version here. So,
My wife has a version of these as well, and she really likes them.
mhm,
I have the old Amazon buds, Echo
mhm,
buds, but not the second gen, the first
yeah,
gen. And I
cool.
actually like the way these look more um than the Echoes.
Mhm,
Um, so yeah, I like these.
yeah, yeah. I'll keep you updated. See how well they do.
Thanks.
But I really want to thank Alan. Really appreciate you
Yes.
jumping on, uh, bearing with us as we talk a lot and
Well,
answering our questions.
thanks for having me on. And like I said, I rambled on, quite a bit there. So that was, and I ramble on quite a bit on my own show. So that's normal.
Yeah,
No, thanks for having me on. It's been great.
No, yeah,
absolutely.
this thank you very much, Alan. And also you are a very good asset for the community. I know you've helped me out quite a bit myself. Actually, I love that you one of your topics on two voice devs was one of them that I brought up in the community, and that helped me. That stream alone helped me so much to try to wrap my head around how to get more money out of people. No, no, that wasn't the reason. But no, just wrap my head around how to do what I was trying to do. Um, and we're not going to go into that because that's a rabbit hole. But anyways, thank you.
Thank you.
And that is a wrap. Uh, Everyone, you can always reach out to us at Twitter. My Twitter handle is WRONGHOLT.
Yep.
Kevin?
I'm at KJ Evans 2787. Feel free to reach out to me about voice related stuff or whatever picks your brain. So, but
And yeah, and once again, thanks, Alan, and everyone else. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.
take care, everybody.
Be seeing you.
Nope, that's not the right one. That one. There we go.